Alexander Croo is the Belgian Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister. He joins me now from Brussels in Belgium. Minister, look, I know what's been agreed and the $500 billion of this and the $500 billion of that, and I understand all that's been done. But it's not been enough, and there's a feeling that the Union has not spoken as one. Otherwise, the French president wouldn't be warning about this. How concerned are you?
I agree. I think if Europe is not united, we will turn out to be much weaker. And I think that the differences in opinion are still quite visible, despite the fact that my colleague ministers and myself have agreed on quite a big package. I mean, this is support for workers, this is support for businesses, this is support for sovereigns as well. I think more is going to be needed. And if we want to make sure that all the progress that has been made over the last years, and countries like Spain and Portugal, they have done tremendous effort in cutting down government spending and making labor markets more flexible. If we don't intervene now, everything will be down the drain. And this is the last thing that we could accept in Europe today.
But hasn't this forced the issue that was avoided during the sovereign debt crisis, which is the mutualization of debt, or put it more bluntly, of federal states of Europe, all for one and one for all? This has shown that is not the case, and if left to certain countries, will never be the case.
Well, look, I think that the sovereign debt crisis was obviously there was an element of moral hazard. Some countries had made a mistake, had not done the right reforms, and there was hesitation to intervene because you would kind of help someone who made a mistake. Here, the situation is completely different. Those countries who are most affected today, you cannot say that they have made economic mistakes, often quite the contrary. So we should not be in this logic that too often is throughout Europe, where countries are still thinking about their own interest first. Because today, our own interest is not purely the national interest. Would you imagine that the European Union would continue with big economies like Italy or Spain being in very difficult circumstances? That would be a dramatically destabilized Europe. And I agree with Mr. Macron. We are at the start an economic project. But today, if you want this economic project to succeed, you will also need to have a political project.
Right. But I guess where my questioning is coming from is what the President of the Commission said, Ursula von der Leyen. When you get the Commission President apologising because of a failure to support a major country in its most dire need, it begs the question, what's the point of the whole thing?
Well, let's not be too negative on this. I think that the response that we have agreed on last week to answer the immediate needs, this is what is necessary for the immediate needs. But the real question is, what is going to be the path forward? I mean, how are we going to relaunch this European economy? How are we going to take leadership again throughout Europe? And then apologies are not what we need. What we need now is leadership. And it's being able to think of these are solutions which are maybe outside of the ordinary solutions, but with whom people throughout Europe can say, okay, I understand this is the path we want to go forward, and let's all unite it one another.
Right. Minister, a final question to you, sir. What worries me is after the great financial crisis, yes, unemployment did come down in the EU, but by no means to the same levels as, say, in the UK or the US. Now I'm really worried that the levels will go back up again, obviously, but that the damage is so great that, again, Europe will not get its unemployment down to reach a potential because of how bad the situation will be. Are you worried about that?
Well, I am worried about the fact that those economies might be in a lockdown situation for too long. Because in the end, the best measure we can take is a controlled restart of our economy. And obviously, there are some health conditions that need to be covered to do that. But the faster we can, in a controlled way, and testing and mouth masks and so on will be a part of that. The faster that we can get that going, the easier it will be to get back to our full economic potential. Look, this is a difficult situation, but it's not like we are after a war. It's not that the infrastructure is crippled. It's not that the high level of education of our people would be wiped away. Everything we had 6 months ago is still there today. The real question is going to be which kind of boost of confidence and boost of financing are we going to give to this European economy to kickstart it back over again? And this is definitely the role that the Europe and European Commission needs to play.
Good to see you, Minister. Thank you. Thank you for giving us time tonight. Busy week for all, and I'm grateful that you spoke to us.